So ladies and gentlemen, in every entrepreneurial journey, there are moments of significant transformation. Our next discussion centers around exits and rebirth, the story of my life, where our panelists will share personal stories of how challenges have led to new beginnings. Please join me as I welcome our distinguished panelists. To begin, our moderator for this panel, Ganesh Krishnan, serial entrepreneur and promoter of BigBasket, BlueStone, HomeLane, and Portea Medical. A round of applause as we welcome Mr. Krishnan to the stage. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and let's give our panelists a welcome. I'd like to call on Ashwin Damera, CEO of Emeritus, and Alok Kejriwal, co-founder and CEO of Games to Win. Let's give them a big warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Krishnan, I'll let you take over, sir.
Good evening, and thanks Alok and Ashwin for being here. My name is Ganesh, and I'll have the pleasure of moderating the session with these two stalwarts. Both of you have seen, as I've seen, multiple ventures, exits, starting again, this. So first question. When generally I speak to people snigger at the thought of exit. You should build companies not to flip but to last. And general feeling is it's almost like having a baby and selling your baby. How can you think about selling your baby? How can you be so heartless? How can you do that? How can you live with yourself? How can you look at the mirror in the morning if you're going to sell your thing? And even though you may become rich, okay, right? How do you do that? What is your answer to this? I mean, I'll give you my answer also, but would love to hear from you first. Sure. Yeah. And then Ashwin.
Hi. Jai Gurudev, Om Babaji. So actually, Ganesh, there is no plan, right? I mean, who can plan these things? I remember this is a very famous story I tell everyone. It's Google, I think Rajan Anandam, when he took over a few years ago, Google India, and they kept telling him, one of these weirdest questions is, how do you see yourself 5 years down the line? They ask this in MBAs, right? I don't know what, I'm not an MBA, but how do you see yourself XYZ? So Rajan Anandam was asked, what do you see your Google blah blah blah? तो बोला भैया अगला क्वार्टर पता चल जाएगा ना तो मेरा काम हो जाएगा. So I think mota moti, if you're starting a company, you're doing it for the love of what you want to do, and everything follows. I think anyone who has this Excel sheet approach that in 48 months I will do this and 60 months I'll do this is either still living in some fool's paradise, or that's like trying to plot life. When did life ever turn out to be the way we wanted? But I think I'll just share 2-3 other insights, right? See, one thing is for sure, it's if you look at a relay race, which is probably one of the most simple examples I can give, you have to run the lap and you have to hand the baton over. You can't run the 4 laps, because then you're trying to fight normal convention. Like, there is always someone bigger and better out there to take care of what you've started. That's one ideology. The other ideology, I'll just share this because it's close to me. Marwadis mein kya hota hai na, when you have a daughter, original, कि भाई अच्छी तरह बड़ा करो, पोसो, but किसी और की वो लक्ष्मी है. So you are prepared कि one day she will leave, and maybe she should leave. And the third is that, if you want to do it just to hang on to it, which is a phenomenal ambition, then be very prudent about how you build it. Some businesses are meant to last. I know 95-year-old Dadajis who are not letting go. And the business is suffering because of that. But that's okay with them. So I don't think there is any such emotion attached to selling or holding.
You don't feel bad, or you don't feel any...
Not at all, man.
Okay, great. Ashwin, I would love to hear from you. You run a very successful company in Emeritus. You sold Travel Guru to Travelocity. So would love to hear your perspective about build to flip, build to last, and emotions attached with exit.
Yeah, so when you raise your first venture capital round, you will have this nice little clause there called exit event. And that will go into 5-6 pages where the VC will tell you from day one what are all the ways in which they can get their money back. And the basic premise, therefore, is anybody who takes VC money to build their startup, who then believes that there will not be an exit, is only fooling themselves and maybe the VCs, but the second one will not last for very long. Of course, an exit can take many different paths. And therefore, like Alok said, if you think you're going to build something forever, then you have to also build it in a way that is relevant to that path. Second thing I will say, many startups, it's best you sell, exit, and do something else. Because there's also an opportunity cost to the founder's time. If your startup is not going anywhere, best to sell it. Somebody else may be able to run it better than you are. Maybe in some cases it will shut down. But then there are some startups. So for example, what I'm doing right now, Ganesh, this one I'm a little more attached to because it's education, it's high impact. Every day a student comes to you and say, you changed their lives. And it has a long runaway in terms of what it can build. Sure. So for those, perhaps you want to think about, how do you build it for longer and longer? You still have to figure out exits for your investors, but the founder perhaps can still try and continue. And then just on a lighter note, you gave the example of a startup being compared to a baby. But every baby grows up, leaves the house, and figures out their own destiny. There's this term called empty nesters now. So even babies have exited. So why can't startups?
No, it's a great perspective. In fact, very interesting analogy I have heard is when the US Navy SEALs were asked, why did they take such a long time to go and attack Abbottabad, Osama bin Laden, and capture him? The answer was very revealing. They said, we knew that Osama bin Laden was there. We could have gone there any time. But the problem was not going in. Problem was, can we come out alive? Correct? And that's true about exit as well as people. We can all start businesses, okay, right? How are we going to find an exit is important. That brings me to the next question. When do you start thinking about exit? Do you build a company for exit, or exit happens along the way is another question. I understand that when you take VC money, the exit memos are made and they will look at it, because from a VC's perspective, I would assume that it's not, valuation is important, IRRs are important, multiples are important, but it's more important that you get something out. You don't want to be held on for 20 years when the fund life is over. I understand. But question one, when do you think about it? Two, is there a difference in the way you build the companies if you are looking at an exit eventually or otherwise? I mean, you have done exits. You sold the same company. You sold India business to somebody else. You sold the other business to somebody else. And would love to hear from you. Did you look at it and build it differently if it was for exit? Otherwise, like a typical Marwari that you are, you will build it differently.
So two analogies here. You like both of them. Everyone here probably, I think the age here on the head, color of the hair is that there's a very interesting movie called Indecent Proposal. So there is always going to be a couple of indecent proposals in your life. I'm talking about business, okay? धंधा. तो आपके धंधे को खरीदने के लिए एक दो बार लाइफ में तो ऐसे लोग आएंगे जिनको खुद नहीं पता उनको क्या चाहिए, but उनके पास माल है. One business went away like that. Indecent proposal. And it was so indecent that here it was, you also get lost. हमें आपका शक्ल नहीं देखने का है, but आपको धन जरूर देंगे. हमें नहीं जाना था, but धन देकर हम चले गए. The other one is, Alan Greenspan, my most favorite economist of all times. He used a very interesting term in the 80s called irrational exuberance. Always there will be a flavor of irrational exuberance in the air. Somewhere or the other, Bitcoin ka hai, ye hai, wo hai. So what happens is, there are many outsiders who think of your business in far more valuable terms than what it is. And Ganesh, it's not about just value. So I'll give you an example. I had a genius co-founder who went to China and he started a business at the behest of SoftBank for short code messaging. Now, for some reason, we applied for 4-digit short code and we got it. It was very uncanny that the state of China gave it to us. And there were 3 companies who had it, Ashwin and Ganesh. Nokia, Mobile Twin, and China Unicorn. And then it got banned because they said, this is media. Now anyone can do anything with this media. Disney wanted that short code. What came attached with the short code? The entire company. So they said, भाई क्या करें? Company तो नहीं चाहिए, but short code चाहिए. That is irrational exuberance, and they
So
bought it.
you are actually saying that if you can get an offer that you can't refuse, like they say in Godfather, that's a great thing. What do you feel, Ashwin?
I mean, I see the point in that, but I think there are some offers that should be refused, even if they're indecent in the way they are made, because you as a founder have a vision that you're building something that is far larger than what it is today. If you're on that path, then it makes sense. But then there are many companies where you should take that offer because that is the best you'll ever get.
Would you build the company
So I'll give you an
differently?
example. So in 2008, Travel Guru, we had an offer to be bought out by Expedia. It was an indecent proposal by very decent people, but by the definition that Alok has. It was a crazy valuation, like 20 times revenue, and in 2008, it was just taken it. So we signed the term sheet, and then we spent 6 months negotiating. Negotiating what? That when they buy us out, when they do the earn-out 5 years later, should that be at 400 million, 600 million, or 800 million? Is pay 4 months went. Then we said, okay, fine, we'll get to where we want to agree. But the week later, Lehman Brothers collapsed. So forget 400, 600, 800. The company was eventually sold a year later to Travelocity for like 1/20th the price. So when that
Wow.
indecent proposal was there, we should have taken it for that business. However,
So
if-
timing, you're saying, is very, very crucial in exit. That you.
I think as a founder, you should know what your business is. आपकी औकात क्या है? You should know.
But
now,
you
I
would
wanna-
you would not have thought about Lehman Brothers happening, right? If you had known, you would have definitely done it before.
No one knows, no?
But that's the point. Somebody's giving you 20x revenue. You don't need Lehman Brothers to collapse to know that you should take it.
But
right?
I think Ashwin so well said. And if you look at the historical public listed companies, forget anything else. Look at the Yahoo acquisition. Look at the fact that they never sold off when they were at peak value before the utmost collapse. Nokia, there's so many of them which have just held on for vanity or for this is going to be better, and they just lost even public, wealth.
But I would also say, I mean, just to give the counter, so I'm making the point for the other side. If somebody gave me an indecent proposal for eruditus today, that I might still decline. Now, is it that I'm attached to the business? Hope none of my investors are sitting here. Some of them are Mumbai based.
Yeah.
But I believe the reason for that is I see the ability to build for the next 10, 20 years. That runway exists, that potential exists in the business.
So essentially what we are saying is that there is a very clear-cut call that you need to take in terms of what is the risk associated with continuing, what is the upside to continuing. But while you said about timing, I do see a lot of counter also. I mean, the fact that Snapchat got an offer, did not sell, was able to go is important. Same thing with Netflix, even though Netflix, the Blockbuster said no to Netflix, but Netflix built. So there are enough counter examples of people not selling at indecent proposals to valuations, but then going at it. I mean, the best analogy that I have heard about this is like you have a mango, okay, right? What happens to a mango? A mango becomes slightly ripe. Kacha mango is valued at X. Mango becomes ripe. It gets higher value. But beyond a point, it doesn't become riper and riper. It starts decreasing value. So the entrepreneur's call really at that time is it kacha? Is it ripe? Is it overripe? And what's going to happen? What's going to happen in future?
But Ashwin will make achar of that mango, and the net per gram cost sale price of achar will be 20x the stale mango.
Yeah, fair enough. You
उसका
can
वो
make
अचार बनाएगा।
you can make achar. You
उसका
can
भी
do that.
माल
But
निकालेगा value.
tell me now, so you mentioned about your VCs not being here. What is the role of a venture capital in deciding exit and rebirth? How much it is forced? How much do you have? I mean, of course, we have heard both sides of the story. Never bite the hand that feeds. Okay, right? Is my philosophy. So we are not going to talk ill about venture capitalists, but would love to share your experiences of where venture capital's role in forcing an exit, good or bad. Otherwise, yeah.
So, just a first point, venture, any capital which has got a equity attached to it is the most expensive capital you can raise in your life. भाई कर्ज क्या होता है ना, पैसा दो, पैसा लो, वापस दो. Equity को return करने के साथ बहुत बड़ा झमेला है. So I was telling Ganesh that, I've many years ago, Ashwin, when even VCs were trying their hand. See, now it's a playbook that everybody knows. 25 years ago when we were around, they themselves didn't know what the heck they were doing. Yeah. So
By the way, we raised our first venture capital money in 2020.
2020. These guys were
so
in
25
college.
years back, before venture capital was not even very popular. Okay,
So-
right? Both of us.
So, there are 4 VCs. I think they are venture capital, vapor capital, vulture capital, and vampire capital. These are
Vulture, vampire, vapor, and venture capitals. Okay.
so. I don't know about today, but it is very likely that if you raise money in the last 20 years, you had experienced all 4 of them. And they all come guised as the guy who gives you money, who you think you can do anything with or build your business with everything looking hunky-dory. Once the share certificates are sent and exchanged, things begin to change, and that's fine. So, I think the other rule is, jitna kam lo, utna better hai. Lesser is more, lesser is more, lesser is more. Because it is very easy to manage lesser money. I'm talking about my kind of operations. Very little, just scrape the surface. We need 30 crores, use 3 crores. And one important reason, frugality kind of forces you to think of efficiency. Actually, we've seen people who spent $30 million in a party at launch. There's so many such examples, right?
No, but why blame the VC for that?
No, nothing.
That's the founder. See, my
Correct.
one view is, when you have an award function, the founder comes and takes the award. But when things goes down, you blame the venture, vulture, vampire, whatever capital. Why?
So we are talking founder only, Babu.
The founder.
Founder.
So my view is, yes, there are all kinds of venture capital, vulture, but by the
It
way,
also depends on the kind of specific VC, but would love to hear your counter
but
perspective.
Ganesh, there are all kinds of founders also.
Correct.
There
Absolutely.
are venture, vulture, vampire, and what else I don't know.
Well said.
So unfortunately, the VCs in this country and other places have been trained in a certain way by not gentlemen like us. We are the good guys.
At least some of us are. I won't speak for all the 3 of us, but
This is our cue to leave.
is,
We are leaving
dangerous,
right now. But the point is that, look, VCs, many of the great businesses that have been built would not have been built if not for venture capital
Agreed,
money.
100%.
So we have to acknowledge that. Yes, there are some bad actors. I think as a second-time founder though, and Alok, this is maybe relevant, is we now realize that the value of a VC deal is not just the pre-money valuation.
Perfect.
It's also the terms. It's also who that partner, not even the firm, who that partner in that firm is that you are raising that money from. Because ultimately, if that individual has a value system that aligns with yours, through good and bad, you will figure things out. So I've, touched wood, been lucky so far, but yes, we still have a journey to go.
So, Ganesh,
Ashwin,
may I just add 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure.
I think also there's a lack of training, Ashwin. Like, I know so many founders who never bother to do research on their VC. Talk to 20 founders who've been funded by them. Out of the 20, and if 10 are still funded, the 10 who've exited will tell you the truth.
How many founders would take a term sheet that has a lower valuation but better terms?
Ask them. Many.
No, I mean,
Very agree.
it's a very personal
So,
choice,
yeah,
but
both.
that is the maturity of a founder. If you are building a business to last, then that would be your mindset. If you're building a business or take something now, build, sell it, then you just maximize on valuation.
Just
and then
one-
that leads to those problems.
Sir, sorry, just
Ganesh,
because
we're not
this is
giving you any time to
This
speak.
is so fun to do. Liquidity preference, just that one line. I know 10 people who never understood and signed what came. बोले आलोक जी मुझे तो बड़ा है, मैं कल LP क्या है, बोले सर पता नहीं वो देखा नहीं मैंने. मैं कहा देख एक बार, तो 3, 4, तो उसी में बर्बादी है.
No, I think very valid point that while VC role is one, the terms that you're attached, the kind of VC, the specific partner of the VC firm that sits on your board is something that is very, very key. Talking about this, how do you see, I mean, you are running a unicorn company, so you obviously have got great valuation. How do you see the concept of IPOs as an exit? Because this is very important for the founder, okay, right? IPO is, while it may be exit for some, it's entry for some other investors. So the valuation at which you IPO is critical because some people are coming in. As a founder, you've got the responsibility to give them upside in value and uptick in value. And two, for the founder, it's not really exit. Even if you sell some and offer for sale, you still have to continue to run the company, and you get the bouquets and brickbats if the price goes down in a public market. How do you see a role of IPO in this exit process?
No, I think one, it's a very good thing that more and more VC-backed companies in India are going public. Because look, for the VC ecosystem to work, there has to be investment, but there has to be harvesting as well. Money has to come back. That flow is important. And to be only pitching to a VC to saying that some big person from the US will buy me out, that is okay, one exit, but it's a very small thing. So being able to build a long, enduring company that in some cases goes public, some cases can remain private, I think is a good option. However, as a founder, you have to ask yourself, for that investor who's coming in, who's expecting a 15 to 20% IRR, can you deliver that? Do you have a business that can deliver that for the next 10 years, not even 5 years? Many people think that VCs and private equity investors are very smart, and they are, of course. But public market investors, institutional investors in India are equally smart. You speak to them, they can demolish your business in 3 sentences, and you can throw jargon at them, but they'll come down to dhanda, right? So they are smart. They can see through what's happening. And the unfortunate thing, if you look at the data, even before the correction that's happening now, about 27 VC-backed companies have gone public over the last 4 to 5 years. Only 7 are listed above the listing price today. So I think while it's good, a good start has happened, at least 25 have gone public. We need to find enduring businesses that can win the market's confidence, and then the IPO becomes a real story.
So one question, Alok, is shifting the topic. When you sold mobile to win, then games to win, did you continue or was it a clean cut? Okay, right? Question one. And two, what do you do in between? Okay, right? If there is an in-between time, how do you think? How do you strategize? How do you decide to take a break? You are almost in similar businesses. Do you take a break? Do you start becoming an investor? I'll talk about art of living in a minute, but first answer this question.
No, I don't think that this concept of taking a break is very alien to me. Like, I don't understand what is taking a break. I think in my life, one was an indecent proposal which said get lost, lock, stack and barrel. So whether I wanted to stay or not, that was not an option. And the other one was immediate, right? We just kind of sold, and I started harvesting another business. And the same set of investors came into that. So it was a company it was a holding co. It was a hold co that got the money, and the hold co again put the money back. So it was a very clean case. But I don't understand that, okay, let me sell the business on Friday, then let me take 1 month break. That's like, I can't understand that. I don't know what to do on a break.
What about you, Ashwin? What is your perspective on between one business to next business? How do you spend that time? How do you think, and how do you decide to start again instead of just
So luckily when Travelocity acquired the company, they asked me to stay for a year. It would have been very offensive if they said, we don't need you, you can buzz off.
Yeah.
And I stayed for a year because, that was the word that was given. And I think,
Did you stay for more than a year? Because I'm sure they would have offered to keep you. No. Why would you not stay?
Well, because, in that 1 year, I had also thought of what I want to do next, which was eruditus. And I'm an entrepreneur. I don't see myself working for a large company. But a word was given, it had to be honored, and I did it and helped them grow the business. By the way, they exited. They sold it to Yatra, so
Okay,
later on.
So exit.
Exit ka exit. But Ganesh, you can throw light on this because you have actually, amongst all of us, raised perhaps more money, exited more companies. So you should throw some light.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I share the same thing. I've started 4 greenfield ventures, 2 of them with my wife, and 2 of them on my own with other co-founders. In all the 4 cases, when I sold the businesses, and all the 4 had a lock-in, and the day the lock-in was over, I exited. The same thing for as an entrepreneur, opportunity cost is high. And 2, also, I think it also depends on skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? So, and what you like to do. I'm a startup guy. I don't like large companies. When we sold customer asset to ICICI, what is now listed as First Source, part of the Sanjeev Goenka group, Meena and I started that business. When we sold it, I was president at ICICI. Now, trying to be a president to ICICI was not the thing that really appealed to me. Obviously, the salary was good. The executive access to the executive washroom at the ICICI Bank building was excellent. Okay, right? And I could actually use, if you have been to ICICI Bank building, I could use the director's lift. Okay, right? Because I was director of my company. Only other people who could use were directors of ICICI Bank. So there were a lot of highs associated with being president at ICICI that was there. But it was not the case. The opportunity cost of an entrepreneur is very high. Plus it is. So the analogy is very simple. It's like being a farmer. There are different kinds of farmers. One kind of a farmer is a guy who likes to run a nursery. What is the business model of a nursery? You plant seeds, saplings will come out, you sell the saplings, make money, plant more seeds, sell the saplings, make more money. That's one kind of a farmer. Successful, good model. The other equally successful model is that of a farmer running an orchard. What does that orchard farmer do? He plants the seed, makes a plant, gets a tree, harvests the apple, and for the next 25 years, he will harvest the apples, make apple juice, or sell the apples, process the apple and do that. Also extremely successful. Now the question becomes, what kind of a farmer, what kind of entrepreneur are you? Are you an entrepreneur who is going to be running a nursery, who likes to run a nursery, who enjoys running a nursery? Or are you going to be a farmer who enjoys running an orchard? There's not a single answer. Both are very good. Last question, Alok, for you, we'll end with. You are an art of living teacher, guru, trustee. How has your spiritual journey influenced the concept of exit and rebirth? So
It's our time's up, so take it very short. Actually, it's very simple. Ashwin and we have a very common bond also. I think as you grow older, right, you understand that you can create value. And I had a moment in my life where I said I can create exponential value by creating people understand what their well-being can be. So it's the startup has moved from some next gaming venture to people as gaming ventures, right? You got to make them better people, make them manage their mind better, their life better. So for me, it's just more value addition, but to hundreds of people.
Great. Thank you very much. We are out of time. Give them a big hand to Alok and Ashwin. Great speaking to you.
And to Ganeshji, hero of them all.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have another round of applause, please, for our panelists. And I would like to invite Mr. Ranu Vora, President, TiE Mumbai, to please felicitate our panelists with a token of appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, please put our hands together one more time. I'd like to thank our moderator for this session, Mr. Ganesh Krishnan, and of course our panelists, Ashwin Damera and Alok Kejriwal. Thank you, gentlemen, for your compelling stories on transformation, resilience, and rebirth. We'll just get a group photograph. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we come to a very special moment. Post the group photograph, we're going to have the unveiling of Mr. Ganesh Krishnan's book. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very exciting moment. Mr. Ganesh Krishnan is unveiling his book, which is currently the #1 bestseller on Amazon. So let's put our hands together and make some noise as we're presented with the book titled Mastering Disruption, A Practical Guide to Understanding New Age Business Models by Mr. Ganesh Krishnan. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again, gentlemen, and congratulations, Mr. Krishnan, on your book. Thank you, Mr. Vora.